Hello and welcome. How open is the People's Republic of China when it comes to doing business or when it comes to investing? That's a question a lot of people ask, and my guest here tells me that the answers may not be the right ones. Well, I'm joined by Cheung Bing, the Dean of the Cheung Graduate School of Business based in Beijing and of the People's Republic of China. Mr. Bing, thank you very much for joining us. So, the common perception is that China domestic market is not very open, and there are a lot of controls for foreign investment, either directly or indirectly, because you have to form partnerships and so on. I gather that you disagree.
Well, firstly, it's a delight to be here. If you look at some of the sectors, yes, like financial services, telecom, they're not fully open yet, and then partially open. But if you do look at the whole economy, and then actually the Chinese economy is far more open than a lot of people think. For example, trade as a percent of GDP was as high as 70% in 2008. Even for the last year, was 55%. That's one number. And then far higher than that of US or Japan, for example. And secondly, China overtook Germany as the largest exporting nation in 2009. But it's important to note, vast majority of export from China are done by foreign invested companies. That's the one and only country on earth among the major economies. In Japan, it's done by Japanese company. In Germany, it's a German company. In the US, American companies. Only in China, over 55% of the export from China done by foreign invested companies. And also, if you look at the past 10 years, China attracted over 1.1 trillion US dollars. That's also a sign of openness. Just from Japan alone, over 400 billion US dollars FDI invested in China. And then also if you go to Walmart or Carrefour, it's very significant in retail, supermarkets. And then
so what's the message here?
You see very few Chinese brands. You see global brands. That's again, those are indicators of openness. I mean, if you go to Japan, you go to Korea, you go to supermarket, you see very few foreign brands. And
China has a very large domestic economy, just
yes.
sheer population.
And then also another evidence is that you see Volkswagen doing well. I mean, making a lot of money. Toyota, Honda still making a lot of money, even there's some some sort of frictions today, but still making a lot of money. American company making a lot of money. So China's economy really become, if you want, is a bed for fusion among major form of capitalism. Every major version of capitalism playing out so well in China, making serious amount of money. Samsung in 2011, 30 billion US dollar sales in China, 30 billion export from China. That's about 40% of Samsung's global sales. So altogether, I think this is indication of how open China's economy is. And actually, I look at the Chinese history, and in Tang dynasties, Ming dynasty, every dynasty, when China was open, China did so well. So this is not the first time China is open. So we were like that for many dynasties, yes.
Yeah. No, so does this mean that, having an open domestic market policy is beneficial to overall economic growth? I guess that's what it means. But
yes, I think definitely a key reason for China's economic progress in the past 30 years is it is open. So I still believe China continue to be open. Because I said, if you look at historically, every time you're open, you're successful. So, so this economic openness has benefited China substantively, also benefit the cooperation from around the globe. If you look at 2008, since the financial crisis, China has been by far the most important economic contributor to economic increment. I mean, that increment is benefiting globally because it's economically open. Another element of China's, let's say, success is the role of the private sector, because some of the perception of China as a state capitalism. Yes, there's evidence on that, of course. The SOEs of the government have influence and control about 80% of at least the companies, capitalization of at least the company in Shanghai and the Shenzhen Stock Exchange. This government has a very powerful influence in allocating resources. Some of the sectors are being designated to the play of SOEs. But if you look at data, for example, private sector contributed about 70% of GDP of China, 80% of jobs in China. Over 90% of new jobs in China are created by private sector. So if you look at those data, the role of private sector very significant, compares well with even US.
Yeah, so that was one of the points that you were making, that you argue that the Chinese economy is more open
than other people think.
Yeah, than the US economy.
Yeah, I mean, like, for example, Cisco, 75% of these internet backbone infrastructure by Cisco, American company. But Huawei technology from China, sending anything to the US, a national security issue. But in China, we have no national security issue. You have a Huawei, you have a Cisco, you have IBM mainframe computer, you have Microsoft.
Is that because there is comfort that the ownership of Cisco is in the public domain, and whereas Huawei, they may be...
China could use the security concern to block the sale of, I mean, you could use easily the argument, as well this air traffic control system, Lockheed Martin issues. Why is there no national security issue? So I think, as a Chinese, I know we Chinese in the blood very open, very curious. I mean, Tang Dynasty, we did that. But I hope we come back to where we were. I mean, so re-emergence of China, I mean, primarily coming from this curiosity and being open and entrepreneurship.
Right.
So China succeeded not because of state capitalism, it's despite of state capitalism.
Right.
That's a fundamentally different lesson. You need to learn from China. If China has done anything right, don't learn the lesson from China the wrong way. That's very important. Yes.
So one of the things is, for instance, the most recent announcement, the dismantling of the railway ministry, right?
Yes.
So the role of government itself seems to be shrinking. But what's that driven by? Is it driven because of a need for greater efficiency, and is that the way to deliver?
Well, there's common view that government, yes, has been too powerful in allocating resources. In fighting against the global financial crisis, by having a powerful government, you can get things done fast, efficient. But at the same time, you have to realize, the income, the wealth inequality in China has become among the most serious around the globe. One reason for that is the government has been too powerful. Allocating resources in such a significant way, creating opportunities for this uneven distribution of wealth and income. So the opportunity for corruption and this, the ever-widening income-wealth gap, partly because government is too powerful. So we have to have some serious reforms, to reduce the power of government in allocating resources. That goes step by step. I think in the right direction.
Right. So last question. So do you see the role of state-owned enterprises reducing sharply in the next decade, let's say? Or maybe through divestments and... I
think it's not only the state-owned enterprises. I think for today, everything's so globalized. For IBM, GE, Siemens, they have to leverage resources globally to compete in any market, in India, in China. So the same logic applies to the Chinese company. So it will become a basic human right for every company to learn how to leverage resources globally, to compete in China, in India, in UK, in US as well. So in the past 20 years, because of the economic openness of China, you might consider, China is truly being globalized. The next 20 years, a central element, maybe an element, will be the global economy will be Chinaized. So the Chinese company will go around the global shopping, not necessarily for talents, for technology, for brands. So there'll be two-way traffic rather than one-way traffic. It would be natural, I think. So not only the SOEs, but also the private companies as well.
Right. So we've run out of time, Mr. Xiang.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for speaking with us.